We have more news about AI and copyright. You guys watched our previous video about copyright. We had so much a good conversation about it, and I'm not an attorney. And so you can consult an attorney, and I can share with you what my attorney has told me, but I'm not an attorney. So you can see yesterday that Reuters, they published an article where another person was actually rejected from the copyright application because there wasn't enough human element in it. So here's the really interesting thing about this report is that Midjourney's terms and conditions say that anything that you create, you can claim copyright over. That means they're leveraging that law from 1923 when the Copyright Office opened. They can say like, hey, you created this, so you can go use it. But that's different than having a legal registration from the U.S. Copyright Office. And so in this article, it says a federal appeals court in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday affirmed that a work of art generated by artificial intelligence without human input cannot be copyrighted under U.S. law. So it goes back to like that human touch. Here, the terminology is human input. It says the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia in the United States Copyright Office state that an image created by Steven Thaler AI system Debus was not entitled to copyright protection and that only works with human authors can be copyrighted. So you may have seen previous videos where I've shared with you my copyright attorney talks about when we go into AI and we use different prompts, it is actually the prompts that help us to prove it was created by human. So actually, the more prompting that you can do is helpful. And back in the day, you guys know the story of the monkey taking a picture with a camera and like who owned copyright. But as a professional photographer, now kind of retired, I did take my son prom pictures last week. That was fun. If I click the button on a camera, I own the copyright. So it's almost like, what is the work that we have to put into AI to be able to say we own the copyright on this? Okay, it goes further because right now the laws, it's kind of the wild west, right? It says Tuesday's decision marks the latest attempt by U.S. officials to grapple with the copyright implications of the fast-growing generative AI industry. The Copyright Office has separately rejected artists' bid for copyright on images generated by the AI system Midjourney, right? And I think this is where some of the hang-up comes, is because when you read the terms and conditions, if you pay for a pro account on Midjourney, then they say you have permission to go and copyright this, but that is not the same. They're not saying you have permission to pass an application process through the U.S. Copyright Office, right? And so when people are actually submitting applications, they're arguing, that they should be entitled to copyright because the AI is assisting them and it's not generating, okay? And so it's, they're using as many prompts as they can. We're not able to see all those applications. I'm actually going to do some additional research on this because more things are going to come out. And I'm curious how much we actually have to have in our application to be able to pass. Because so far, we have not had any type of AI artwork that has passed a copyright application. Now, you can let me know in the comments if you've seen that, and you can also understand that if you have had artwork that passed the application process that you did not disclose was used with AI, that's actually worse complications, okay? So you do want to be open and transparent because you don't ever want to lose the copyright of that. That is the same thing as if you used elements that you didn't own and you tried to claim copyright. You need to really make sure that the origins, or you have some type of commercial and copyright release to combine them into one type of end result, like a book cover or whatnot. Now, you can't necessarily copyright one book cover, but you do, under the copyright law, you can apply for a series to be copyrighted. And that's what I did in 2022 when somebody reported my account for something on KDP and my account was shut down. I was on the way to make 20 grand and they asked me to submit my copyright. And I was working with a trademark attorney to copyright 150 covers on Amazon KDP of lined journals that were selling really well. And I was under the impression in 2023 that that was the best way to protect my work. And it's really interesting because when you're publishing on Amazon, we are looking at books that do well and we're iterating our own versions. And so there's a lot of similarities that allow us to have the freedom to be inspired by other people's work without fully copying them. Okay. So you want to make sure that when you are finding books that are selling well and you feel like you can compete, that you aren't just ripping off their covers or doing things exactly like them. Okay. It's bad energy, bad karma, and it's just not, it skirts the lines of legality. Like, you want to be safe. Okay. So with this particular lawsuit, the attorney for the artist, he argued that like this artist has put enough of his prompting and enough of his human touch in it to pass the application. But this says down here that like they upheld the decision, because if they start passing laws like this, it opens the floodgates for other stuff. And I think that the district court judge is just trying to lean on the safe side as AI is developing so fast. It says a federal district court judge in Washington upheld the decision in 2023 and said human authorship is the bedrock requirement of copyright based on centuries of settled understanding. So this is something that it's still developing, right? And so it can be really frustrating as an artist, but also important to understand. Now, you guys gave so much good feedback in my last video. So this is really just to keep you updated about what's going on and what you can do to really protect your book and just stay on the forefront of how to use AI. I think that's the most important thing. And just to understand that AI is not going to actually go away. And I actually love that Amazon has shifted. And let's go to the Amazon page and I'll show you how they've shifted in how you're reporting your content, whether it's AI or not. Okay, so this is actually the second page of when you upload a book to Amazon for the book content. So there is a section called AI generated content. And this used to be, they used to ask you, was this AI generated or AI assisted? And then they realized just within probably 6 months how fast AI was evolving, that now we can't really say, was this AI generated or AI assisted? And so now they're just asking us about how we're using AI in our books, and it is strictly survey based. You're not being penalized. And so I would say encourage you to think about how to use AI in your books in a really peaceful way. And if you'd like to see a video about how I'm doing this inside Canva, I want you to drop the word Canva, Magic, Media, any 3 of those words. You can even go test it. But here I used my cover. I used Canva. Spelling Canva, Media, Magic. Okay. So now that AI knows, Amazon knows how I'm using AI. I'm using it in my covers. Okay. So I hope this helps you on your journey. I always just try to stay up to date. Like I said, I'm not an attorney and I love your guys' feedback. There's a lot of you that are really savvy in the law and I love that. I was raised by a politician, so I've been reading bills before they become laws, and I've been an intern at the state capitol where I grew up, and I took political science in college, and I actually won first place in biomedical debate for the state of Utah in high school, and I flew to Atlanta, Georgia. I took 4th in state. So I'm not going to argue with you, but I don't mind a little banter. So thank you for being here. And if you'd love to see AI with covers, just drop that in the chat and I'll see you in the next video. Love you guys. Peace out.